right. Welcome back to Good Global Vibes. This week, we have our part 3 and last part of the Heal Your Life workshop leaders from Louise Hay Philosophy, who are experts in teaching forgiveness because they've been teaching about forgiveness as part of this philosophy for many, many years. I actually am one of them. I've led Louise Hay workshops for about 8 years now. But forgiveness, this part we're talking about some juicy, juicy things about forgiveness. So stay tuned. Here comes the ladies sharing more of their points of views, which is just so enlightening to hear all of these different aspects of forgiveness. So the next question is, what does asking for forgiveness provide or not provide?
I would also like to add that I was asthmatic when I was young, several years back. And I realized that I had bottled a lot of stuff and I couldn't breathe with all of the stuff. And my mom came from an old school of thought, and she would say girls are not supposed to shout and they're not supposed to be a certain way. And self-expression was not something that was really appreciated in the sense as being loud as a girl. So I would bottle it all up. Like I shared with you all, I was a kid who was maybe I was a rebel at that time because I rebelled against everything that my mother said to me and did everything that a boy would do because I wanted to please her. So I became a gymnast, I became a marathon runner, I did horse riding, I was a swimming champion. But my mother was never pleased by it because she thought I was always up to something or the other and not focusing in one area. I even learnt Bharatnatyam, a dance form which is so girly. And it didn't work for my mother because I had to be up on stage. And those times, being on stage and giving a stage performance for her didn't work. So, what I actually have understood is it's my beliefs that got me to stay stuck. My mother, in her world, just loved me and she was just giving to me what she thought was best for me. And my belief that got stuck there, that mom doesn't love me or my brother doesn't love me and I'm not wanted around, which continued to allow me to go through all the processes. And the asthma, when I understood what I was doing, I was seeking my mom's attention. Every time I got an attack of asthma, the whole family would be around me and my mom would pamper me and she would fret and she would fume. So it was my way of getting back at her also, you know. And when I actually saw all of what I was going through, say, so many years back, I really understood that there is no need for me to get sick and do so much drama. It's just a story. And when I could bury that story and put it behind me, and that's why I say let go of it, there was so much freedom. Before my mother moved on a few years back, I remember her saying to me that I know you are that son of mine who will take care for me in my later years. And that was so balming for me. That was my greatest healing, to be there beside her. And now it's an effort even to think of those things, that could have happened and what I thought, because it's all kind of dissolved now and disappeared. What forgiveness provides for me is deep peace and an inner stillness and great freedom.
If everyone in the world knew how to forgive, what would the world be like?
Yeah, I think if we all know how to forgive, I think we are just talking about love, kindness, happiness, all the positive things, and then we all live happily ever after.
I often laugh about the teenage years, and I say that if we really do come back in a different lifetime, I just like to fast forward right through that phase of my life because that was torment. And I have many, many friends that have teenagers, and I'll hear them say they're being teenagers. And so I think that if we learned about forgiveness and we practiced it, I think my teen life would have been a lot less filled with so much angst. I would have had more fun. I wouldn't have been so just so all the time, or like holed up in my bedroom, or I would have, I would have been experiencing more. Like, yeah, I think I just would have been experiencing more and not so miserable.
Yeah, it's funny because I often say before this question, just in my life, I'm just like, we really need one rule, like the golden rule, right? We really just need the golden rule. And then that solves like all the things, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so simple, yet so complicated, of course, right? And if we did live by that, and like if we did have just the forgiveness, and we were evolved enough to see, like I was saying earlier, that people aren't typically doing it to hurt us, they're usually doing it to feel some need that they have because something happened or whatever. And no, it was beautiful when you asked that question. I was just like imagining, and I just saw this amazing collective consciousness of just elevation, and just like everyone lifting each other up, because if we're just forgiving and forgiving, and it's okay, and we know you're doing your best you can, right? And it's just so beautiful, like the amount of ascension, just in the world, not just in spirituality, but advancement and technology. If we could just all come together, we would be just soaring, and it would be just amazing of just everything. That's totally like Euphoria, Eden, or whatever, like that would be amazing. So transport me there, please.
I actually find it really hard to envisage a world where everybody forgives so easily, because the world is so divided all the time at the moment. You've got people rallying against governments, you've got people against each other because of COVID and vaccines and things like that. You've got world wars, you've got so much going on. Could forgiveness get rid of all that? Wouldn't it be amazing if it could? I have children who've gone through their teens. They're in their 20s and 30s now. But I can remember when I was a teenager, much like you said, Sandra, you were sort of like this and against the world and everything. My children didn't seem quite so bad. And I don't know if that's just because I was a mum watching them and wasn't seeing what was going on outside, but it would be absolutely amazing. It would just be a world full of love and peace. There'd be nothing interesting to talk about. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
So for me, it could be, like that bird who's willing to sing in the dark, and that bird that sees the light, and it would be so easy. There'd be so much love. And I'd really like to envision that there's love, and I just bat an eyelid and I'm rocking and I'm dancing and I'm flying and I'm just doing what I want to do, and there's no judgment, and we're beyond criticism and we're beyond blame. So it could be a lot of fun, actually. Just express what I wish to express without any judgment or criticism attached, just as a way of self-expression and love. Yeah, that's freedom, and that's the freedom that I talk about. The freedom to just be. The freedom to just be. And how beautiful life would be. And shutting my eyes and just getting transported to whichever place I wish to be in with the blessings. So often I've thought of it like that. That how did people get transported in those years behind? It was the light, it was the blessing, it was the faith and the trust, and all of that would be re-established once again with love and kindness and deep compassion. That's how it would be for me. And I already envision that, and I love it. It might seem silly at times, yes, that how can it be? But I still choose to envision a world that way, where, there's just forgiveness and there's love, and children, my grandchildren, all of them growing up in this beautiful space. And my grandchildren are already so different from what I was as a child. They're so amazing, and they'll ask me such amazing questions, and I wonder where they're coming from. And I already see the transition there, because there is a movement that's happening.
Thank you. Thank you all. That just Good Global Vibes, one of our commitments is about raising the vibration of the planet. And I didn't even know this conversation was going to lead to that, but I really could see that that's exactly what forgiveness can offer. So it's like so perfect that we have the experts. So thank you. And I just want to in closing, ask you the last question, which is, what do you want to leave for the viewers? Like, what would you like to share that we haven't said so far?
What's coming up in this moment is the book, The Four Agreements. And when talking about forgiveness, the don't take things personally is kind of jumping out at me here, right? Don't take things personally. And so one of the agreements. And then also the always do your best. So in asking for forgiveness or doing something, to not have to be asking for forgiveness in the first place, right? Doing your best. And then being impeccable with your word, just trying not to harm others, and that kind of thing. And then the other one is don't make assumptions, right? So I know that was just coming through for me today. It's like so simple, but such lifelong work. And a lot of it can really just tie into this conversation on both ends of the forgiveness side.
Yes, so I would like to say that it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be who you are. And it's wonderful to be vulnerable. And in your uniqueness, forgiveness is that imaginary doorway, the imaginary bridge to the heart, which is love. So when we are willing, the doors just open up. And that's what I'd like to leave everybody with, that it's all right. Don't beat yourselves up. I've done that a long, long time. Embrace yourselves, love yourselves, and when you begin with embracing yourselves and loving yourselves, yes, the doors shall fly open to your heart, which is love.
Yeah, that we don't have to know how to forgive. We just need to be willing to forgive.
For me, piggybacking on Babu, forgiveness opens the doorway to love. And just going back too quickly, living in a world where we're forgiving. When we are forgiving, again, it doesn't mean we're condoning. What it does mean is we're diffusing. And that allows us to be in a state of grace instead of a state of constantly fighting or bickering. It allows us to live in a life of ease and grace. And that is a lot of less pressure. And I think we'll not only feel better, we'll look better. So there's a lot of benefits to forgiveness.
Well, there's not really much more I can add to any of that, other than perhaps being willing to forgive allows you to be more of your authentic self. It allows you to get back to what's in here. And what's in here is love. So be authentic, be willing to forgive.
Ladies, thank you so much. It's really been an absolute honor to be with you and privilege. And I can't wait till everyone gets to watch this episode. And, I'll just let everyone know that healyourlifeworkshops.com. So healyourlifeworkshops.com is where you can go on and you can look up any one of these ladies' names. If you are in Japan or India or San Diego or Florida or London, and you can see what workshops they're teaching, because now a lot of things are online. So you may be able to have any of their workshops be available to you. So that's a plus. And thank you just so much for taking your time. I mean, weren't the tips great? I mean, I love how she connected it to the Four Agreements. And thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. We love Good Global Vibes community. We love all your feedback. So keep making comments underneath. And stay tuned next week. We're going to have Daniela from Europe. She lives in Germany, and she has a website called soulinspace.com. So you can check it out before she's on next week. Talk to you next week. Aloha.